The following video is rated MA/LV, NOP, QRS, TUV. It contains violence and extreme language. Not really. But go ahead and watch it anyway. You might actually learn something.
About Face, Episode 3, Photoshop Toolbox Boot Camp, Part 2, Hooah!
Whoa! Hey, what the heck? I did not sign up for this, man. I am out of here.
So, you're back for more Photoshop Toolbox? I can't hear you. Sound off like you mean it.
Sergeant Jonah, shut up so these recruits can get back to their learning.
Oh, Photoshop.
Get to learning.
The next set of tools on our Photoshop toolbox are the photo retouching tools. Mr. Jonah, will you please do me the honors?
Spot healing brush.
That is correct, the spot healing brush tool. I am going to zoom in on this photo a couple of times, take my spot healing brush tool, and paint over the offending area, as you can see right here. And said offending area is now eliminated.
The healing brush tool.
That is correct. The next tool is the normal healing brush tool, Mr. Jonah. The only difference between the spot healing brush and the normal healing brush is you cannot click to use the healing brush. You must option click first. So if I option click this skin, then I let go and paint over this offending bubble, it will be eliminated. Why is there a difference between the two? For God's sake, son, I don't know. I didn't write the darn program. I just know how to use it. Move on.
The patch tool, sir.
Heads up, boy. The next tool is correct. That is the patch tool. And the way this tool works is you click and drag over an offending area of damage in your photo, move into the selection and drag it to a clean area, and the said offender is gone. Pretty darn easy and patchy, too.
The content-aware move tool.
That is correct. The next tool on our agenda is the content-aware move tool. It is a freakishly amazing tool. If I click and drag a selection around Jonah's nose right here, and then I want to move it to his forehead, it will do so, and after a careful analysis, eliminate the original nose. That is quite freakish, so I will go to Edit, step backward, Command D to deselect, and move on.
The red-eye tool, sir!
Absolutely! The next tool is the red-eye tool, but unfortunately for you, I cannot show you the red-eye tool on this photo because I am such a great photographer that this child does not have that demonic look that you normally see. However, if he did have red eye, a simple click in the red parts of his eye would get rid of it. That is why this is called the red-eye tool, numbskull.
The brush tool.
That is correct. It is the letter B for the brush tool. These are all your drawing and painting tools. And basically, if you come out on the screen and you have a foreground color of black, click and drag and you will be able to paint with that foreground color. You also have all your brush tips up here, and you can click and select from numerous brush tips, which I will be getting to in a future video. But for now, I will step backwards so we can move on.
Pencil tool.
That is correct. Shift and the letter B will access the pencil tool. It is just like the brush tool. However, the only difference is you will get nothing but hard edge brush tips, just like a pencil is a hard edge. So when you click and drag, you will get hard edge strokes, just like I told you you will. You better believe in me, son. I'm going to go to Edit, step backward, and move forward.
The color replacement tool.
That is correct. Shift and the letter B will access the color replacement tool. Essentially, it is a tinting painting tool. If I come up to the swatches and pick a shade of blue and I simply paint over my son like this, I will turn him into one of them freakish characters from Avatar that you heard about. Now, I don't like that look at all, so I'm going to step backward and move on.
The mixer brush tool.
That is correct. Shift and the letter B will access the last of the drawing tools, the mixer brush tool. This basically allows you to make a digital oil painting. I will not show you here on this cute and adorable picture of my son because I have a more in-depth tutorial later on, but at least you know what it does so we can move ahead.
The clone stamp tool!
Yes, indeed. The next tool is Photoshop's original cloning and photo retouching tool, the Clone Stamp Tool. Basically, all you got to do is come down, option click what you want to copy, then move to a new area and click and drag to paint that copy somewhere else in the photo. My God, this child looks like it just landed here from Mars. So I will go to edit, step backward, and move on.
The pattern stamp tool!
Yes, indeedy doodly. The next stamp tool is the pattern stamp tool. And if you access a pattern from this pop-up menu right here, click and drag and you will paint said pattern. Nothing more to say, that's pretty much all that it does. I'm going to go to edit, step backward, and forge ahead.
The history brush!
Yes, sir, Sergeant Jonah. This is Y for the history brush. Unfortunately, this is a complicated beast here in Photoshop. All you need to know is that it does work in conjunction with your history panel, and I will not do a demo on this right now. Check my future videos for more on the history brush.
The art history brush tool!
That is correct. Shift and the letter Y is for the art history brush. The letter Y as in why the hell did they put this on the Photoshop toolbox to
Hilarious,
confuse
Dad.
my world even more? Basically, you can take any kind of painting style and you click and drag, and now, for God's sake, my son looks like Sideshow Bob. I will go to edit, step backward, and definitely move on from this beast.
The eraser tool!
Yes, sir, you can hit E for the eraser tool, and for God's sake, it acts just like it says it will. It will erase things. What more did you need to know? I'm going to go to edit, undo, and move ahead.
The background eraser tool!
That is correct. Shift and the letter E will access the background eraser tool. If you paint carefully among contrast in a photo like I am doing here, the background eraser will recognize a foreground against its common background and allow you to erase said background as I am doing so. I appreciate that, but I will step backward and move on.
The magic eraser tool!
In addition to the background eraser, you can hit Shift and the letter E for the magic eraser tool. A one-click deal will erase your backgrounds accordingly. That is about all I can say about it. We will go to step backward and move on to the next set of tools.
The gradient tool!
Yes, sir, Sergeant Jonah. If you hit the letter G, you will access the gradient tool. The gradient is right up here, and you can paint from a pre-selected source of mixed gradients. You also have styles of gradients, and a simple click and drag will allow you to paint a gradient as you can see here. After all this quite colorful gradient, I will go to edit, undo, and move on.
The paint bucket tool!
Yes, sir. Shift and the letter G will access your paint bucket tool. It acts just like a real paint bucket full of paint. If I select red and then I click, it will paint on the designated area. Click again and it will paint even more, as you can see right here. But now that this looks like a bottle of ketchup exploded in my son's face, I will go to step backward 2 times and move on.
The 3D material dropper!
That is correct, Sergeant Jonah. Shift and G will select the 3D material drop tool. However, for God's sake, as I've told you before, I work in the real world. I do not work in 3D. As you can see, it won't even work anyway. I reckon it works the same way as a paint bucket tool, except on a 3D art layer, and that's about all we need to discuss. Let's move on to the next set of tools.
The blur tool!
That is correct, Sergeant Jonah. The next tool is the blur tool, and the first thing you need to know about this specific range of tools is there is no keyboard shortcut for them, so be aware of that and remember it for the safety and sake of your own life. I am going to zoom in on our photo right here. I will take my blur tool and set the strength all the way up to 100, and it will do exactly what it says it will do. It will blur the affected area, as you can see right here. I will go to edit, step backward, and move on.
The Sharpen Tool!
That is correct. The next tool is the Sharpen Tool. Again, you do not have a keyboard shortcut for this. I will come up to the strength and crank that up, and it works just the opposite of the blur tool. When you click and drag, you will add contrast between pixels, and if you drag too much as I am doing here, you will literally destroy the quality of your image. So use it subtly and be careful. I will go to edit, step backward, and move ahead.
The Smudge Tool!
That is correct, you little cutie pie. The Smudge Tool is the third and final of the focusing tools. It will basically treat your photograph like a wet oil painting. So when I click and drag, well, what the heck, it smudges. What'd you think it would do, you moron? Let's go to step backward and move on.
The Dodge Tool!
As you called it, Mr. Jonah, the next set of tools is O for the toning tools. The first one is the Dodge tool. Essentially, when you click and drag, it makes areas brighter and brighter and brighter. I will undo that 3 times so we can move ahead.
The Burn Tool!
Yes, indeedly doodly. The next tool is the opposite of the Dodge tool. Shift and the letter O will access your Burn tool, and it will darken areas and darken them the more you click and drag. I will undo that just as I did with the Dodge tool, so we can move ahead and talk about the next one.
The Smudge Tool!
Well, hallelujah, Mr. Jonah, you know your stuff. The final toning tool is the Sponge tool, also accessed by Shift and the letter O. It has 2 modes. Desaturate will literally suck all the color right out of your photo, essentially turning it into a black and white photo. I will undo that. I will set it to saturate, and that does just the opposite. It will saturate said color that you click and drag on. Of course, that looks freakishly bizarre like a horrible skin rash. Let's go to edit, undo, and that will conclude this second part of the Photoshop Toolbox, so we will see you next time on the third part. Attention! Head out! Create artwork! Hup, 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 hup.
Remember to click the like button and subscribe below, you maggot!
That's all, folks.